Woke up when the cold, wet fabric of my pajama top stuck to my chest. Damn it, not again. I sighed, staring up at the bottom of the bunk above me. I peeled my eyes open, feeling the humiliating stickiness. I had to change again. Quietly, I rolled out of bed and shimmied down the ladder. My roommates, Mike and the other guys were screaming at their monitors. Deep in a grand raid on World of Warcraft. They didn't even glance at me. Creeping around, I grabbed a fresh charcoal t-shirt from my closet and made a break for the ensuite bathroom. Just my luck. The dorm door swung open right as I was halfway across the room. Lucian walked in. He stopped and we nearly collided. Lucian was the campus ice prince. Tall, ridiculously handsome and colder than a brutal New York winter. We weren't exactly best buds. But we were civilized enough to exchange pleasantries. I froze, forcing a casual smile. Hey, Lucian. You're back, man. He gave a non-committal grunt, tossing his keys on his desk. But then his gaze dropped. It lingered right on the center of my chest. Why is your shirt wet, Finn? I fought the urge to cover my nipples with my hands. I laughed. Nervous. Shaky sound. Oh, this. I was chugging some water earlier. Total klutz. Spilled it all over myself. Is that so? Lucian lifted his eyelids slowly. His eyes were pitch black. Bottomless. And why do I smell fresh milk? My smile froze. I felt the blood drain from my face. Oh, right. I drank some milk, too. Spilled that as well. Look at me. Absolute mess today. I backed toward the bathroom door. Anyway. Lucian, you probably want to change or whatever. I'm sweating like a pig. I need a shower. Be out in a sec. I dove into the bathroom and locked the door before he could respond. Silence from the other side. Then footsteps fading away. I bit my lip, turned to the mirror and peeled off the soaked shirt. I looked at myself with total despair. My chest was slick, glistening with white fluid. The small bathroom was already filling with that distinctive sweet, milky scent. I slapped the ventilation fan switch. My ears burning red. This was so fucked up. I still don't understand how a biological male starts producing milk. I thought I had cancer or a tumor. I ran to the campus clinic in a panic. The doctor just said it was a rare hormonal imbalance. Hyperdevelopment of the mammary glands. He called it. He gave me some pills and told me to wait it out. Well, it's been 2 weeks. The pills aren't working. If anything, I'm leaking more. I go through 2 shirts a day. I've killed 2 jugs of laundry detergent. I spend my life dodging my roommates, claiming I spilled protein shakes. Or that I'm just taking 3 showers a day because of the heat. My other roommates are oblivious meatheads. They don't notice shit. But Lucian. Lucian is sharp. He's too handsome. Too smart and too observant. Every time I had an episode in the room, I'd catch him glancing at me with those dark eyes. It terrified me. If this got out, my social life was dead. I'd be the campus freak. I turned on the shower, sighing as I washed the shame off my body. God, when is this nightmare going to end? Once my chest stopped leaking and looked somewhat like a normal dude's chest again, I stepped out. Lucian was walking toward the bathroom, a towel over his shoulder. He scanned me, his eyes flicking over my dry, clean t-shirt. Done. Yeah, man. All yours. Plenty of hot water left, I said, smiling brightly to hide my anxiety. Okay. He brushed past me. But just as he crossed the threshold, he stopped dead. My heart hammered against my ribs. Did the fan not clear the smell? Is it still milky in there? Lucian turned his head slightly. Finn, you forgot your shirt, huh? I peeked inside. My jaw dropped. My soaked pajama top was sitting right on the sink counter. The white stains were starting to dry, crusty and obvious against the dark fabric. Fuck. I scrambled back into the bathroom, snatched the shirt and balled it up, throwing it into my laundry basin. Sorry, Jesus. I forgot to wash it. I'll soak it later. Just ignore it. I fled to my bed. Lucian didn't ask further questions. He acted like it was nothing. But as the shower started running, I lay on my mattress staring at the ceiling, heart pounding. I knew a guy like Lucian. Rip rich, pristine, arrogant, wouldn't touch my gross laundry. But I was still paranoid. 20 minutes later, Lucian walked out drying his hair. He was holding 2 wet shirts. Squinted. Wait. One was his. The other one looked suspiciously like my stiff, milk-stained pajama top. I ripped my privacy curtain open. Lucian, yo. Why do you have my shirt? He looked up completely unbothered. I was doing a quick wash in the sink. Did yours too? You washed my shirt? I gaped at him. My brain short-circuited. His expression was flat, unreadable. Yeah, the milk you spilled. It dried weird. Kind of sticky. I had to scrub it a bit to get it out. He paused, looking me dead in the eye. Finn, what brand of milk do you drink? The scent is unique. I felt like I was being cooked alive. Unique how? It's sweet. He stared at me. His iris is black and intense. It felt like a double entendre. But maybe I was just projecting my shame. It's, just the strawberry milk from the vending machine downstairs. Nothing special. If you want, I'll buy you a carton. No need. He said. I'll buy some tomorrow. I forced a smile. Cool. By 5, you get a discount, men. Lucian turned away to hang the clothes on the balcony line. I retreated behind my curtain. My face burning. I peeked through the sliver in the fabric. Watching his broad back. He seemed normal. He probably didn't suspect anything. But the thought of the campus ice prince. Using those long, elegant fingers to scrub my bodily fluids out of my shirt. And calling it sweet made my scalp tingle. My ears were on fire. My breathing was jagged. What the hell is happening to me? That night, my dreams were a feverish mess. First I dreamt Lucian found out. He looked at me with disgust. Screaming at my deformity. But then the dream shifted. He was scrubbing my shirt. Staring at me, pointing at my bare chest. And saying. He wanted to taste the strawberry milk directly from the source. The look in his eyes wasn't disgusted. It was gluttony. He looked like he wanted to eat me alive. Woke up whimpering. I checked my chest immediately. Thank God, dry. It felt heavy, though. Swollen like a water balloon ready to burst. It hurt a little, a dull ache. Just don't leak. During class, I prayed. I hated carrying a spare shirt in my backpack. And changing in the filthy public restrooms. My prayers worked. I made it through the day dry. Walking back to the dorm that evening, I felt the familiar tingle. The dam was breaking. Perfect timing. I walked faster. I knew the room would be empty. Mike had texted the group chat. Saying the boys were pulling an all-nighter. At the internet cafe for a tournament. And I saw Lucian at the outdoor courts. Surrounded by cheerleaders playing basketball. He wouldn't be back for hours. I practically skipped to the dorm. I got in, locked the door and ripped the curtain shut. I peeled off my shirt, maybe because I held it in all day. This time was intense. It was aggressive. The smell, saccharine, milky and warm, filled the cool air of the room. I sniffed. Does it really smell like strawberries? Maybe a little. I didn't rush to clean it up. It felt good to release the pressure. I let it flow, making a mess on my stomach. When the pressure subsided, I grabbed a roll of paper towels. I was red-faced, panting a little. Why does cleaning this up always feel like I'm doing something dirty? It felt illicit. I was halfway through wiping myself down. Kneeling on the floor with a pile of wet, milky tissues around me. When I heard the sound of a key sliding into the lock. Click, clack. It sounded like a gunshot. I froze. My face went pale. Someone's back now. I scrambled for my shirt to cover my shame. But my fingers barely brushed the fabric. Before the door swung open, Lucian stood there. He looked fresh off the court. Sweaty, hair messy. Wearing a loose jersey. He stood in the doorway. Staring down at me, his gaze swept over the piles of soggy, suspicious tissues on the floor. It moved to my white, terrified face. It traveled down to my throat. Watching my Adam's apple bob. Finally, his eyes landed on my bare chest. There was still milk there. Sticky, glistening, undeniable. Lucian stepped inside and kicked the door shut behind him so Finn. His voice was low, vibrating in the quiet room. Is this your strawberry milk? The silence in the room was heavier than the humid air before a thunderstorm. The lock on the door clicked shut, sealing us in. Finn. My name sounded different in his mouth. Usually, it was a passing acknowledgement, a syllable tossed over a shoulder. Now, it was a tactile thing, wrapped around his tongue. I tried to scramble backward, my heels slipping on the linoleum, but there was nowhere to go. I was backed against the foot of my bed, a pathetic, sticky mess of a man. Lucian, don't look. It's a condition. I saw a doctor. It's not what you think. And what do I think it is? Lucian asked. He didn't stay by the door. He moved into the room with that predatory grace of his, tossing his gym bag onto his own bed without looking away from me. He crouched down. We were eye level now. The smell of his sweat, musky, expensive cologne, and male heat clashed violently with the nursery sweet scent radiating off me. I think, Lucian said, his voice dropping to a whisper, that you're leaking. He reached out. I flinched, squeezing my eyes shut, expecting a blow or a shove. Instead, I felt the rough calluses of his fingertips brush against the damp skin of my collarbone. He traced a line down, right through the slick, white fluid smeared across my pec. I shuddered, a full-body convulsion. Lucian, please. I'll move out. I'll switch dorms tomorrow. Just don't tell the guys. Lucian pulled his hand back. He looked at his fingers, coated in the milky substance. Then, with an expression I couldn't decipher, something between scientific curiosity and dark hunger, he brought his fingers to his nose. He inhaled deeply. Strawberry, he murmured. You weren't lying about the scent. It's the hormones, I babbled, tears pricking my eyes. The doctor said? Shoo. Lucian cut me off. He wasn't disgusted. That was the most terrifying part. His pupils had swallowed his irises. He looked at the fluid on his hand, then back at my heaving chest. You're making a mess, Finn. The floor is ruined. I'll clean it. I was cleaning it. With paper towels? He scoffed, a sharp, arrogant sound. You're smearing it. Stand up. What? Stand. Up. It wasn't a request. It was an order. My legs obeyed before my brain could protest. I stood, shaking, my arms wrapped around myself to hide my chest. Lucian stood too, towering over me. He grabbed a fresh towel from his rack, his expensive, plush Egyptian cotton towel, and dampened it at the sink. He came back, grabbed my wrist, and forced my arms down to my sides. Don't hide, he said. He began to wipe me down. It was clinical at first. He scrubbed the dried flakes from my stomach, his strokes firm. But as he moved up to my chest, the motion changed. He slowed down. The warm, wet cloth circled my sensitive, swollen nipples. I gasped, my knees buckling. The sensation was electric, bordering on painful because of how tender I was. Does it hurt? He asked, his eyes tracking the movement of the towel. Yes, I whispered. It's tight. Full. Lucian stopped. He tossed the ruined towel into his laundry basket, not mine. The pills aren't working, he stated, crossing his arms. You're producing more than you were yesterday. How would you know? I notice everything, Finn. The way you walk to avoid fabric rubbing your chest. The way you check your reflection every 5 minutes. The smell. He stepped closer, invading my personal space until I had to tilt my head back. You smell like a bakery. It's driving me insane. My heart hammered against my ribs, loud enough for him to hear. I can't help it. I know. Lucian's gaze dropped to my chest again. Fresh beads of white were already surfacing, defying his attempt to clean me. You're leaking again immediately. You're engorged. He reached out, his hand hovering over my left pectoral. You need to express it, or you're going to get an infection. Is that what you were trying to do on the floor? I nodded, my face burning so hot I thought I might pass out. It's hard to do it myself. It hurts. Lucian's jaw tightened. He seemed to be warring with himself, a flicker of hesitation cracking his icy mask. Then, the ice shattered. Sit on the bed, he commanded. Why? Because you're incompetent, he snapped, though there was no heat in it. And because if you get mastitis or whatever the male equivalent is, you'll end up in the hospital, and then everyone will know. Sit. I sat on the edge of his bed. Lucian dragged his desk chair over, sitting between my spread legs. The intimacy of the position made my head spin. This stays between us, Lucian said, his voice dropping an octave. If you tell Mike, I'll kill you. I won't, I squeaked. Good. He placed his large, warm hands on my chest. One on each side. He didn't squeeze immediately. He massaged, his thumbs working into the tense muscle tissue, finding the hard lumps of glandular tissue that shouldn't have been there. Relax, he murmured. You're tense. You're touching my tits, Lucian. It's hard to relax. He let out a short, dry huff of laughter. They aren't tits. It's a medical anomaly. Then he squeezed. I cried out, arching my back. A stream of milk shot out, landing on his dark jersey. He didn't flinch. He watched the flow with intense fascination, his thumbs working rhythmically, milking me with a frightening efficiency. The pressure in my chest began to recede, replaced by a dizzying, syrupy haze of relief. Better, he asked, his voice rough. Yeah, I breathed, my head lolling forward. I rested my forehead on his shoulder without thinking. God, yeah. Lucian froze for a second, then one of his hands moved to the back of my neck, his fingers threading through my hair. He kept working my chest with the other hand until the flow slowed to a trickle. Sweet, he whispered into my ear, sniffing my hair. You're so fucking sweet. Chapter 2, The Arrangement. The dynamic in room 304 shifted inextricably after that night. We didn't talk about it in the daylight. When Mike and the other guys were around, Lucian was the same aloof, high-achieving student prince, and I was the clumsy, quiet roommate. But there was a current running between us now, a high-voltage wire that hummed whenever our eyes met. He became my keeper. 2 days later, I came back from class to find a nondescript brown box on my bed. Inside were high-quality nursing pads, thin, discreet ones, and a jar of organic soothing balm. I looked at Lucian, who was reading a textbook on his bed, wearing noise-canceling headphones. He didn't look up, but the corner of his mouth curved upward. He managed my schedule. He knew exactly when I needed to pump. Since I didn't have a machine, and was too terrified to buy one, Lucian became the machine. Every evening at 7 p.m., while the others were at dinner, he locked the door. I would sit on his bed, shirt off, and he would relieve the pressure. It started as a medical necessity, clinical and swift. But biology is a cruel trickster. It was a Tuesday, a week after the first incident. Lucian was kneading the tension out of my chest. The relief was instantaneous, but this time, it brought a spark of pleasure with it. A sharp, electric jolt ran from my nipple straight to my groin. I gasped, my hips jerking involuntarily. Lucian stopped. His hands were slick with milk and oil. He looked down at my lap. I was wearing gray sweatpants. There was no hiding the tent pitching in the fabric. Silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Sorry, I choked out, trying to curl in on myself. Reflex. It's just a reflex. Lucian didn't pull away. He looked at my erection, then up at my face, his eyes dark pools of ink. Is it? He pressed his thumb firmly against my sensitive nipple. I moaned, a shameful, broken sound. You like this, Lucian stated. It wasn't a question. I don't. I'm not. You are. He leaned in, his breath hot against my damp skin. Your body is confused, Finn. It's crossed the wires between pain, relief, and pleasure. And honestly. He dragged his tongue over his bottom lip. I'm starting to enjoy it too. Lucian? It's a waste, he murmured, staring at the white fluid dripping down my ribs. Watching it go to waste on towels. My breath hitched. What are you saying? He looked up, his gaze intense enough to strip the soul from my body. The dream you had. You mumbled in your sleep the other night. You said you dreamt I tasted it. I turned bright red. I didn't. You did. He moved his hands to my waist, pulling me to the edge of the bed so my knees were bracketed by his hips. Was it a nightmare, Finn? Or was it a fantasy? I don't know, I whispered. Let's find out. He lowered his head. The first touch of his tongue was a shock that nearly stopped my heart. He was hot, wet, and incredibly skilled. He didn't just lick, he latched on. The sensation of suction was overwhelming. It was primal. It was wrong. It was the best thing I had ever felt. I wove my fingers into his hair, gripping tight as he drank from me. He groaned against my skin, the vibration traveling through my chest cavity. He drank greedily, swallowing the sweet fluid, cleaning me better than any towel ever could. When he finally pulled back, his lips were slick, swollen, and shiny. A drop of milk rested on his chin. He wiped it with his thumb and sucked it into his mouth, maintaining eye contact. Strawberry, he confirmed, his voice wrecked. Definitely strawberry. But better. Creamier. I was panting, trembling like a leaf. Lucian. This is the new arrangement, he said, his voice finalizing the contract. No more towels. You come to me. Chapter 3, Fever Pitch. We fell into a routine that was both heaven and hell. I was falling for him. It was impossible not to. Lucian wasn't just using me, he was taking care of me. He made sure I ate enough calcium. He bought me soft shirts. He glared at anyone who looked at me sideways in the cafeteria. But the condition was evolving. The doctor had been wrong. It wasn't going away. It was stabilizing into a permanent state of lactation. And with it came the cycles. 3 weeks in, I woke up freezing. My teeth chattered so hard my jaw ached, yet my sheets were soaked in sweat. My chest felt like 2 blocks of concrete. I tried to sit up and cried out. The pain was blinding. Finn? Lucian was there instantly. He vaulted off the top bunk, landing silently. He pressed a hand to my forehead. You're burning up. He flicked the desk lamp on. Show me. I fumbled with my shirt, but my fingers were too weak. Lucian ripped it open. He hissed through his teeth. My chest was angry red, swollen to nearly double the usual size, hot to the touch. Blockage, Lucian diagnosed instantly. He'd been reading medical forums online. You're clogged. We need to clear it now, or you're going to the ER. It hurts too much, I sobbed. Don't touch it. I have to. Lucian's face was grim. Finn, listen to me. If we don't drain this, they'll have to lance it. Do you want them coming at you with scalpels? I shook my head frantically. Then trust me. He went to the bathroom and came back with a washcloth soaked in scalding hot water. He placed it on my chest. I screamed into my pillow. I know, he soothed, climbing into my narrow bunk with me. He pulled me against his chest, holding the compress in place. Just breathe. Let the heat work. We lay there for 20 minutes, him whispering nonsense words into my ear while I cried. When the compress cooled, he removed it. I'm going to have to suck it out, Finn. I have to suck hard to break the clog. It's going to hurt like hell. Just do it, I whimpered. Please, make it stop. Lucian didn't hesitate. He positioned himself over me. He took the inflamed side into his mouth and pulled. The pain was white-hot. I thrashed, my nails digging into his shoulders, drawing blood. He didn't stop. He clamped my legs down with his own heavy thighs and kept going, relentless. He was a man on a mission, combining the force of a vacuum with the tenderness of a lover. Suddenly, I felt a pop in my chest, followed by a rush of fluid. There, Lucian mumbled against my skin. The taste must have been different, salty, perhaps, from the infection, but he didn't stop. He kept drinking until the hardness melted away and the red faded to pink. He moved to the other side, repeating the process. By the time he was done, I was limp, exhausted, but the fever was already breaking. Lucian spat into a tissue, clear confirmation that the milk had been bad, and wiped his mouth. He looked at me, his eyes soft. You okay? You saved me, I whispered. You're mine to save, he said simply. He didn't go back to his bunk. He kicked off his sweatpants and slid under the covers with me. The bed was too small for two grown men, but we fit. He wrapped his arms around me, his hand resting protectively over my heart. Sleep, he commanded. For the first time in my life, I felt safe. Chapter 4, The Spill. The secret lasted 2 months. We got careless. Or rather, I got complacent. I started thinking we were invincible. It was a Friday afternoon. The dorms were buzzing with pre-party energy. I was alone in the room, or so I thought. Lucian was at a student council meeting. I felt the familiar pressure and decided to handle it myself quickly before showering. I didn't lock the door. Stupid. So stupid. I was shirtless, bent over the sink, manually expressing the milk to relieve the ache. The water was running, masking the sound of footsteps. The door swung open. Yo Finn, can I borrow your? It was Mike. I spun around, splashing water everywhere, but it was too late. Mike stood in the doorway, a gaming headset around his neck, his jaw on the floor. He saw the white fluid on my hands. He saw the wetness on my chest. He saw the distinctly feminine shape my pectorals had taken on over the last few weeks. What the actual fuck? Mike whispered. The hallway behind him was filling with people heading out for the night. Mike, wait, shut the door. Dude, are those tits? Are you leaking milk? Mike's voice rose, cracking with bewildered laughter. Yo. Guys. You gotta see this. No. I lunged forward to slam the door, but Mike blocked it with his foot. Check this out, Finn turned into a cow. Panic, cold and absolute, washed over me. This was the nightmare. This was the end of my life. 2 other guys from down the hall peered in, confusion turning to mockery. Whoa, what? Is that real? Freak show. I backed into the corner of the bathroom, covering my chest, trembling so hard my teeth rattled. The humiliation was a physical weight, crushing my lungs. Get out. I screamed, my voice breaking. Show us again. Mike laughed, pulling out his phone. This is going on the group chat. I squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for the flash of the camera, waiting for my social death. Suddenly, a blur of motion swept past the doorway. There was a sickening crunch, the sound of a phone being slapped out of a hand and hitting the wall at high velocity. Hey! Mike yelled. Lucian stood in the doorway. He wasn't the calm, collected ice prince. He was a storm. His blazer was discarded on the floor. His fists were clenched, knuckles white. Get out, Lucian said. His voice wasn't loud. It was terrifyingly quiet. Lucian, chill, look at Finn, he's... Lucian grabbed Mike by the collar of his hoodie and slammed him against the doorframe. The wood groaned. Mike's feet dangled an inch off the ground. If you ever, Lucian hissed, his face inches from Mike's, and I mean ever, speak about him, look at him, or breathe in his direction again, I will ruin you. I will have you expelled before the sun rises. I will bury your scholarship. Do you understand me? The hallway went dead silent. Lucian's family name was on half the buildings on campus. Everyone knew he didn't make idle threats. Mike nodded, his face pale. Yeah. Yeah, man. I didn't know. I didn't know he was with you. He is, Lucian snarled. He is with me. Now leave. He shoved Mike into the hall and slammed the door, engaging the deadbolt. Lucian turned to me. The rage fell off his face the moment he saw me cowering in the corner. He crossed the room in 2 strides. Finn. I slid down the wall, burying my face in my knees. It's over. Everyone knows. I'm a freak. Look at me. He knelt in the puddle of water on the bathroom floor, ruining his tailored suit pants. He pulled my hands away from my face. You are not a freak, Lucian said fiercely. You are a medical miracle. And you are mine. They're going to talk. Let them talk. If they talk, I'll silence them. I don't care about them. I care about you. He cupped my face and kissed me. It wasn't like the sessions on the bed. This was a claim. It was possessive and tender and desperate. I love you, Lucian said against my lips. The words hung in the air, smelling of strawberry milk and expensive cologne. You do? I've been obsessed with you since freshman year, Lucian admitted, a wry smile touching his lips. The milk. It just gave me an excuse to finally touch you. I would have found a way eventually. I laughed, a wet, shaky sound. So you're just a pervert? Only for you. He stood up and pulled me with him. Pack a bag. What? We're moving. I have an apartment off campus. No roommates. Just us. Big bathtub. Soundproof walls. He smirked. And a very large fridge for storage. Epilogue, the vintage. 2 years later. The apartment was quiet, save for the hum of the city outside the penthouse windows. I sat on the couch, grading papers for my TA position. Lucian walked in, loosening his tie. He had just come from an interview with a top law firm. He looked exhausted but triumphant. Hey, I smiled, putting the papers down. How'd it go? Crushed it, he said, dropping his briefcase. He walked over and kissed my forehead, then immediately let his gaze drop to my chest. I was wearing one of his old shirts. It was tight. You're full, he noted. I was waiting for you, I said softly. Lucian's eyes darkened. Good boy. The condition never went away. If anything, with regular stimulation, my production had increased. It was our secret, our ritual, the glue that bound our evenings together. Lucian sat on the couch and pulled me into his lap. I straddled him easily, the motion practiced 1,000 times. I lifted my shirt. Strawberry, he asked, tracing the blue veins under my pale skin. I had a lot of smoothies this week. Maybe vanilla today. Lucian chuckled. I'll be the judge of that. He leaned back, watching me with that same intense, hungry look he had that first day in the dorm room. But the coldness was gone, replaced by a warmth that melted me from the inside out. Feed me, Finn. I guided his head to my chest. As he latched on, drinking deep, I ran my fingers through his hair, looking out at the city lights. I used to think this was a curse. A shameful deformity. But as Lucian hummed in satisfaction against my skin, his hand possessively gripping my hip, I realized it was a gift. It was weird. It was messy. It was undeniably sweet. And it was ours.